Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't upload last week, well, this week Wednesday, technically. And you guys are probably like, why? You don't normally do this to us. You know, you're normally very consistent with your uploads. And I can tell you now, I felt very bad for not uploading, you know. Yeah, I do normally very much so upload 3 times a week. And normally they're all on the same days at the same time. But this week was probably one of the most messiest weeks of 2020. In not just mental terms, but in just general life. This week has just been absolutely hectic. I'm actually recording this the day before this video goes live. So, today, ladies and gentlemen, I thought I'd forget about what I was going to upload today, because, you know, what I was going to upload today just really didn't fit in with the week. And I'd upload a video explaining last week, because I think last week needs addressing. So, me and my best friend Mog over here is my best friend. I don't have any other friends. And we're best pals. Spud me. Spud me. Fuck's sake, you hurt me again. Anyway. So guys, you're probably wondering, why was last week so bloody interesting, and why have you decided to make a bloody video on it? Like, seriously, it can't be that interesting. Well, I think because I make videos around mental health, and because my channel literally revolves around what I do in my daily life, I think it's necessary for me to address what happened last week, even if it wasn't that serious. So, today, we're going to discuss the topic of arguments. And that sums up what happened last week. There was a lot of arguments, a lot of crap going on, a lot of shit in my general life, which revolved around me having to deal with a bunch of 2-year-olds arguing. Sorry, friends, if I just called you a bunch of 2-year-olds, but I'm not going to lie, some of you are. Now, arguments. I generally hate them. Like, they actually piss me off so much. I just hate arguments. I get awkward in them. They generally make me uncomfortable, and they boost my anxiety levels to levels I don't like. So arguments are bloody horrible, and I think everyone hates them. But me the most, because, you know, I'm special. So, how do I react when an argument kicks off? How am I during an argument, and how am I after an argument, you're probably wondering. And this is where last week becomes extremely negative. So, let me go through the story. So, last week, probably about midweek, maybe towards the end of the week actually, probably about Thursday, Wednesday-ish, I'm not going to give you exact details, me and my general friend group in school, you know, got into a bit of a stupid situation. You know, a very stupid, well, it wasn't stupid, but yeah, there was a situation that unfolded that wasn't very nice. And it led to me having to report something to a teacher that equally wasn't very nice. And at the moment, my social life has gone from here to about here because of this argument. Thanks, friends. Very nice friends. Now, this argument was indeed very unique. I don't normally argue about the things that we argued about. But yes, we had an argument about it. So, basically, I have these other 2 friends who I'm equally close to. Well, I say equally, I don't know. I'm just going to say that for purposes of I don't want to get a smash in the head when I go back to school on Monday. But, yeah, I'm going to say I'm equally good as friends with each of them. But the problem is, these 2 friends, these 2 friends don't get on. They really don't. They just bicker 24/7. They're like kids. They just piss each other off 24 hours a day. Now, one's Indian and one's British. Well, I assume she's British. I think she's British at least. I mean, I never know, do I? I mean, I can't assume fucking religion nowadays. That's against the law, innit? Or am I mistaken? Oh, well, we're going to say she's British. And, you know, these 2 friends were arguing last week, but the argument got a lot more severe than just, you know, your typical argument. It ended up becoming a child protection problem and a safeguarding issue. I can't explain what the actual issue was, because that would be massively against the law, and I would be breaking many laws if I did that. But all I'm going to say is it was a child protection problem, and I had to report this issue to a child protection officer because what I'd just been told was so serious it could actually put another child in danger. So, I reported it. Good me being me, I reported it. Well, I didn't report it on my own. I dragged this girl along with me to report it. I forced her basically to report it. No, I didn't force her to report it because, I'm just a cock and I like forcing people to report things. That's not the entire idea of this entertainment. I made her report it because the risk to me at that time was very high. Now, let me just explain what child protection basically is. It's basically the entire responsibility of protecting children from abuse to emotional abuse to bullying, all these different things. Basically making sure a child is healthy and looked after correctly. If that's not the case, then child protection will be on your back. And if it gets very serious, that can be led to social services. So, I've reported it to this lady, and I mean, this lady is very strict. Doesn't like talking to British people. I'm joking, she doesn't mind who she talks to, I just made that up. So yeah, it all happens in this office, everything starts happening. She's not very happy, everyone's not very happy, and we think that this has just gone horribly. Well, in my head it's gone horribly anyway. But that's not even the worst part of it. It doesn't just end in me getting a bollocking for not reporting it by myself and dragging someone along with me. It also ends in the other person we've just reported getting spoken to, as we expected. Now, the problem is with most kids nowadays, they can't admit their own faults or they can't admit what they've done wrong. If he did do anything wrong, I'm not making assumptions here. So obviously, he says to the child protection officer that he has not done anything. So, yeah, as according to procedure, his parents are phoned, as typical law goes. And his parents are told, and I assume at the moment his parents haven't actually done anything about it, or they have and nothing's gone ahead. I don't know. The last time I heard anything of this was on Friday, and at the moment I'm not in the mood to sit there and try and find out. But after this, after me being an absolute hero trying to protect kids, getting a bollocking for absolute nothing, it doesn't just stop there, lads. Guess what happens next? Well, I go into lesson and everyone's like, all the other girls in my class and basically everyone is just like, why did you report it? You shouldn't have reported it. Why did you do that? You're putting people in danger. Why are you doing this? How do you think she feels? How do you think she feels being dragged into reporting something? Now, obviously, all these tossers that are telling me to do this don't understand child protection, couldn't be less clueless of child protection, don't even understand how the entire system works, probably don't even know how to buy a typical meal in Subway. That's probably the stupidity of this. So yeah, they don't get it. And I'm trying to explain to them, but as most teenagers do, they just reject this. They're like, nah, shut up. Just don't talk to me. I can't admit my own flaws. Shut up, don't talk to me. As usual. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I'm just going to shut up now and get on with whatever I need to do. So I think after that one incident of them telling me, that, I shouldn't have reported it, they'd stop. They'd realise that I don't care and they'd stop. Nah, lads. They practically continue. And it actually started to piss me off at one point because I'm like, I tried to save a child and you're now taking the piss out of me for it. That's not how this is meant to work. Remembering that this entire incident is meant to be confidential because it involves child protection. But, kids don't understand that and they decide to go and tell everyone under the sun. So yeah, that day was interesting, at the least. And it definitely really annoyed me, as you could probably tell through the last clips. However, there was a lot more severe consequences for that very big situation that outraged, and I didn't realise until I got home from school that day. Now, normally when I come home, I normally will work from about 4:30 till probably about 8, depending on how much work I have to do. That day, I stopped work at 6 because I basically felt so crap to the point where working was becoming a bit of a challenge. Now, normally I whiz through all them hours of work, like it's pretty simple for me. I whiz through it. A good cup of coffee when I start, and boom, I'm on my roll. I had my cup of coffee and still couldn't make it through. My head really hurt, I had a massive headache, and I just felt so tired and so out of energy and just so dead, to the point where any task, even if it was so simple as just typing something up on a computer, was becoming infuriatingly difficult. I didn't know what was causing this. Like, surely my mad day that I just had wasn't causing me to feel so crap. But there was no other reason for me to feel like crap than that. Apart from that, I'd slept well the night before, and there was no other triggers of anxiety I could think of. So that day basically caused me to feel like that, and that is very unusual. Like, I've had arguments in the past, and they've never made me feel so crap in my life. I've probably had a lot more severe arguments than that, and they've never made me feel so shit. So why did it make me feel so crap? That's what I'm asking, and that's what everyone's asking. Because generally, I wasn't really shouting at people. There was just a lot of intense situations that were leading into one, and were because of one big argument. Now, anxiety is something that I think a lot of people underestimate how much energy it actually uses. When you are anxious or you have anxiety, you generally use much more energy than you normally do on everyday tasks. And if your anxiety levels are extremely high, you're using like twice the amount of energy as you should be to do everything. And that day, my anxiety levels were high for probably about 50% of it, which is definitely very unusual. Now, obviously, I recognise the fact that my anxiety levels were high out through the day, but because I'm in a situation I was in, I couldn't really think about that. I didn't have time to think about that. I had to think about basically what the heck was happening at that moment. Meaning that I wasn't controlling my anxiety. I wasn't doing breathing techniques. I wasn't scrunching up things. I wasn't doing things to control that, what I would call inner fear within me of getting this wrong. And that's what caused me to feel so shit that evening, because generally I'd worked myself up so much and not recognised it and not took care of it, to the point where it was so overloaded to the point my brain just couldn't handle it, and that caused the headache. And that caused me to be severely out of energy, because I left my brain to its own accord of dealing with things it shouldn't have to deal with by itself. So, I'm not making this video to brag about an argument or to moan at my friends and kind of stab them in the back a bit. I'm making this video generally as advice for you guys, because I'm not gonna lie, last week was so horrific. I generally wish it never happened, because it disrupted my work life. Like, the list of things I've got to do today is insane, and it made me feel like I was literally ill when I wasn't. So, bit of advice for you guys. If you are in a friend group and such a situation occurs where there is a child protection issue, or there is some form of issue that does need to be reported to an adult, please really report it, but also consider your own mental health, because I think that's the biggest mistake I've made. It wasn't the fact that I decided to report it, that was definitely the right decision to make, but the decision of disregarding my own safety and my own mental health to deal with the problem became an issue later on. So, generally, if you're in a situation like I was, or a situation like I was arises, please think about yourself before you chuck yourself into this. Yeah, you need to report it, but also think about who you're going to report it with, or who you're going to report it on. Because at the end of the day, that's all going to affect you. And as much as child protection issues and safeguarding issues are massively important, and you can get in a lot of trouble if you saw a child in danger and you didn't report it, you've also got to think about your own well-being. And I can't describe how I felt that evening to anyone, really. And I don't think anyone will very much understand, or unless you've got anxiety, how I did feel that evening. But yeah, this video was just to recap that, for me to kind of get it off my chest. Getting things off my chest is normally done to the camera because I do like to express thoughts and feelings to you guys. It gives you a bit of an insight that even though I have this amazing stuff in front of me, doesn't necessarily mean my life is perfect, and it's definitely not, and I don't think anyone's is. So take this advice on board before going into any situation like this that is going to lead to stuff like what happened with me or anything like this. Consider your own mental health before you take action, because you'll regret it later that day. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed this kind of story time, bit of more relaxed video. If you have, make sure you guys are smashing that like button. Let me know in the comments of any situations that you've been in recently which have caused you similar effects. And I will catch all you dudes next time.